Good evening. Good evening. This is Samit Das, and I think you all know about that book. And thank you for being online. Thank you, Vikashta. Thank you, Tultuldi. And thanks, Trisha and entire team of Niyogi Books for bringing such a wonderful session. Thank you. And it was a bit of a technical glitch, so we got a bit late. Sorry for that. And yeah, so let's begin with, let me introduce the book first. I think many of you have already seen the book in internet, in my website or everywhere. But those who have not seen it, this is just for them, this Architecture of Shantiniketan, Tagore's concept of space. And this has been published during 2013 by Niyogi Books. And so far, it is giving a wonderful response everywhere, actually. And I tried my best to put things together on my research and whatever documents available in this concern. So this is Architecture of Shantiniketan, Tagore's concept of space. Space means always, I thought that Shantiniketan is a kind of a site where everywhere one can get some interesting energy, one can interact with it. It's something like that. I mean, space is not just limited within those few buildings. So that's why I thought I should keep this word called concept of space. And let me share some of these chapters, how I have constructed that book. So this book is forwarded by Professor Shapun Majumdar, and then there is an introduction, and then the first chapter is Vishwabharati and the Universal Soul. The second chapter is from Jorashaku to Shantiniketan. Third chapter is Rabindranath Tagore and its natural surroundings. Number four is Shantiniketan's architecture from dream to reality. Number five, Uttarayana and Rabindranath. Six, beyond the Madhavilata Bower, influence of nature in literature. Number seven, beyond the architectural motifs. And eight, the pictorial ships in Shantiniketan. So in this book, introduction, I have mentioned very briefly, it's a bit elaborate introduction if you have not seen the book. In this introduction, I have mentioned what brought me to make this book because I'm not a good scholar. I primarily a practicing artist. I have studied fine arts from Shantiniketan. And these work primarily have started during 1993-1994 as part of my master degree dissertation. And that dissertation kind of formulated a kind of a large book. And of course, it is extending in many ways till today. And the dissertation gave me a lot of energy to start with. And of course, when I shifted to Delhi, and somehow it got interrupted, and I could not continue the whole process, what I was looking for. And then slowly I was engaged with art practice, and it was very tough. And I find the most uh, strong influence in this Delhi art scene was kind of a dominated by the whole Western discourse. It's nothing to oppose on that. I don't have any problem of all those issues. I was wondering myself, okay, what happened in India and what was the issues and all. Then again, I went back to my dissertation, the studies, the scribbles and photographs and documents, whatever I had got collected. Then I find, no, this is something I need to study and I need to go back again. And that's how the whole thing has started. And then I find, no, this is very, very important for this Indian art movement. And Bengali school is much kind of misunderstood many ways. People thought it's just a lyrical painting, but it was not that. There are many things happen in Bengali school, including architecture, performance, community art practice, I mean, the site-specific work, the art writings. There are many things actually. It's not just a painting actually. And slowly, I started working on this projects, and of course, then Mr. and Mrs. Mugi took it forward for publication. And This idea of space means, again, I said, the Shantiniketan is not just limited within a few buildings. One has to understand what is the energy, because once in 1988, yes, 1988, I went to Shantiniketan first with my friend, and whole day we are doing watercolor, this and that, and then in the evening, I said, well, I'm really liking this space, but I never realized why it was. And trust me, both of you were sitting next to a bush of cactus plants. It was close by Lalbang. And then we thought, okay, let's go back to hostel and discuss this and that. Later on, I came to know Rabindranath Tagore and Shuren Kaur had a letter correspondence and discussion ki which places there should be cactus plants to hold the erosive land of Shantiniketan. It's amazing. It's incredible. I mean, putting cactus and planting trees with a plan, you know. So that's why I thought, again, space is a very, very important term. And in this book, Vishwabharati and the Universal Soul, the first chapter, I tried to explain what exactly Tagore thought regarding Shantiniketan, because he never wants to build up a garden, the meticulous garden with some geometry, this and that. No. Then what could be the whole idea of Shantiniketan and Vishwabharati and the planning? Because slowly, when he started this institution that was started from a school, and that time he required this human habitat, the institutional building, and the teacher's quarter, and so many other things. And one thing one has to remember, there was no money in that time. Money was a very, very tough. It was a difficult time for Shantiniketan. I mean, uh, many building, even it took sometimes 6 to 8 years to build up. But one cannot imagine it took a long time. So that was the whole idea, and kind of a tangibility, finding the tangibility to building up the ashram that I have tried to describe in this first chapter. And then I thought, well, Shantiniketan is not just a one-day experimentation. The experimentation has started from Kolkata, Jorashako House, the Vichitra Shava. So the second chapter is from Jorashako to Shantiniketan, because Jorashako already they have started. Of course, the other Tagores are involved with it. The Patrigata Tagore houses, they are also involved with it. And in the Jorashako Tagore house, they have started doing this indigenous type furniture, which has a very interesting resonance of a Japanese design. Kasahara was there. So all these things happened. And then the third, I came to Rabindranath Shantiniketan and its natural surroundings. Do remember, Tagore started Shantiniketan from the barren land, and he doesn't want to spoil the vast horizon, the undulated land, the huge sky. So he never wants any big building, the huge structure, the 3, 4 story building in Shantiniketan in those days. Of course, I'm not saying that one need to follow that rule still today, but yeah, he thought those days that that should be the idea. And with the rhythm of nature, he wanted to explore the whole space actually. The rhythm should be integrated with the nature. That's a very important point he thought. And then the Shantiniketan architecture from dream to reality. This is very important point. Do remember when you create a space, whether it is a garden or any building or anything, you need a kind of a planning. Maybe it is a symmetry, it is organized, disorganized, order in chaos, whatever, but you need certain kind of a plan in the human brain. And Tagore had a fantastic planning for that. And all the time he was discussing with his team. It is not a one-person job, of course. Tagore Rabindranath was initiated, but there was a Ram Kinkar, there was a Nandalal, there was Rabindranath Kaur, there was a Birendra Mohan Shen, L.M. Horst, Patrick Geddes, Arthur Geddes, Andrei Karpeles, who is not, I mean, there are many actually. I mean, they are the leading person. Rabindranath Tagore, of course, they're all actively involved to build Shantiniketan. I mean, Rabindranath had a great contribution. People, uh, I mean, may not remember, but I think in Shantiniketan, if the 50% work is by concrete and 50% work done by wood, and mostly the wood work done by Rabindranath Tagore and his idea of the design. So that's the whole thing. And then I thought there should be some special category for the Uttarayan campus because Uttarayan premises is quite interesting, the Tagore's residence. If you notice, if you visited to Shantiniketan, you must have noticed those houses. There's Udayan, Udichi, Punosh, Kunal, and so on. They're not really kind of a space for a family living. I mean, family with a wife, two, three children, whatever. It's not that actually. It's just a one person's place for a meditation. And Tagore was the person. He made that space. He formulated that space for him only. It was very interesting. And the other institutional building, the students' hostels, teachers' quarter, they were quite different actually. Even teachers' quarter, Sriniketan teachers' quarter in Kalawan, old boys hostel, it has a very good community feeling. That's why when students live in a hostel, they should have a community feeling. So that sort of idea they have kind of executed. But in those houses particularly, it is a kind of a self-meditative center. That's quite interesting, I find. I don't know whether it is a selfishness or I don't know what it is, but I thought let's have a separate chapter for it. And then beyond the Madhavila Tagore influence of nature in literature. Of course, Tagore's architecture means it is all integrated with his painting, with his literature, later the concrete structure, the plantation of the trees, the creeper, the cactus, all sort of things. It is not just, again, I must say, it's a building space. There is a space for animal, there is a space for bird to have a water. All those integrity was there. It was complete care of environment and human habitat. And of course, there are certain things which I say that beyond the architectural motives. The beyond the architectural motive means there are certain elements in gardens and some places without looking and without going to that site, one cannot understand how a small motif can be part of your architecture. Like, let's say, for example, one interesting sitting arrangement under the tree in Uttarayan premises. Then, next to Kunak and behind of Kunak, there is a little concrete robe type pattern on the ground, which is a partition of that mud or the ground or plants, whatever. And also, there are little heights in the wall in the garden in the back of the wooden houses, which he made because of the air ventilation for the plants and all. I think it's just a great concept of an architecture. I mean, always we think architecture means just a building for living. No, it is not for that. And then the pictorial shifts in Shantiniketan. That's a bit difficult and critical part to write. Being a student of Kalavan, staying there and studying there for 7 years, of course, the shift means, unfortunately, after 1940 or let's say maximum 50, the whole thing did not preserve properly. Even not a single building has built to follow the previous resonance. The way during the British period they have started looking at the new formation of architecture, which is not at all the Nehruvian idea of the Le Corbusier style, the box type of pattern which is happening in Chandigarh. It was a very different thing. I mean, they're looking at the tradition, they're looking at the Far East, they're looking at the Rajput, Mughal, this and that. And but somehow it didn't continue. So that's the pictorial sheet. Of course, it's a very, very tough, and sometimes Bengali gets very angry when you criticize Rabindranath or Shantiniketan. But yeah, it's not a criticize, but it's just a constructive way to look at things. Okay, how things can be looked back. So this is the main components and the construction points of this book. This is the chapter, and then I have elaborated. But I'm not going for those whole elaboration process and all, but I must tell you, it was a glorious beginning during the British era. Apart from Tagore and his whole team and Jorasanko and this and that, there was another person I must mention beyond of this book, Sri Chandra Majumdar. He has also thought of the Indianization of the architecture, which is very, very interesting. But today is not the time to go on Sri Chandra Chattopadhyay. We're talking about my book and Tagore and the space. And Tagore made a lot of drawing which has a resonance of architecture, and those paintings I find which has a very close relation to the Shantiniketan architecture. Even if you remember Tagore's doodlings or scribblings, and if you take that kind of a doodlings and scribblings next to a jali in architecture of Shantiniketan, you find is almost same. It's amazing actually. I have a whole album, I mean, series of photos based on that actually. And this book has developed like a Shantiniketan architecture. It took many years from dissertation to this formation of book because lack of information, document, this and that. And Shantiniketan architecture also took a long time to build up because of money constraint. It has got a lot of split level. Of course, split level, one reason is money constraint, and one reason is the undiluted land in Shantiniketan. So this book took a long time, of course, but I thought let's have the whole primary research documents put it together in this book. It is not completed yet. This is not my idea to make a final statement. Okay, this is the final thing I have been. No, nothing like that. It's just a clue, it's just a beginning. Okay, this is how one can look. And of course, now I will discuss why Shantiniketan, why one need to look at that, why one can read this book again, and because tons of photographs flooded in internet from Shantiniketan, from Tagore is a huge industry. But I think today we are talking about the consciousness of environment, making efficient to the local, using local substances, local materials. I mean, those attempts Tagore and his team has done, they have experimented with all these elements in Shantiniketan. It's incredible the way they have thought it. Let me explain you one of the finest building in Kalavan campus, the Master Mosai studio where Nandalal Bosu used to work. Can you imagine one whole house is just with a single door? But I think there is a 5 or 6 artists can work in that studio, and everybody they have their own private space. I mean, and also at the same time, from the window you can enjoy. You can also enjoy the rainwater even. It will not destroy your painting or something inside the room. It will not come. They have made small architecture space for birds to come and have water. They made well, and well has a provision to drink water for human beings, for animal. Of course, those things are not there now. It is not in functioning stage. But I'm interested, why not one can think, okay, this was a kind of a process of refinement. And that is one reason I'm interested about the art of Bengal and Bengali school movement, because they're the one, first they have tried to look at the past. It is not just copying the past, but refinement of the past and trying to create another language. Because language in any way, whether it is art or architecture or anything, it takes decades and ages actually. It is not possible to make it in one day. It needs to study a lot of elements. That's how the one image can be built up. So it was a great beginning. And as I mentioned, that in Shantiniketan architecture was not just building. It is kind of an idea to integrate it with part of life. Imagine In Shantiniketan, the building had a courtyard and a veranda. And it's not just a veranda, but the veranda has been used for the performative stage. And many people, they try to say Rabindranath painting was a kind of a cubistic, but if you look at his painting, one painting is very interesting he made. It seems some performance going on in Udayan Veranda, and he has done it. So these architectural language transformed from the past, then it is transignated in Shantiniketan. Rabindranath himself was inspired and interested. His painting got inspired from many motifs. Rabindranath was there. Even many other people, even the whole Shantiniketan side, the many artists from Kalahapan, they were made Shantiniketan houses and other surroundings. The site became a subject of art, the whole site. Each and every houses, the trees, flowers, the surroundings, the undulated lands, everything. So that's a kind of an idea to integrate with the life. And also, Tagore was kind of a unique person to create festival without any religious cause. Imagine the Posh Mela, imagine the Vasant Utsav. There are many actually. The breakthrough on the tree plantation, and of course, the way it has been uh, structured, that's amazing. There is no religious plan or religious cause or motivation behind of all this thing. And all this idea had a very tangible thoughts. I mean, that is one reason Shantiniketan did not get the World Heritage status because the dossier did not mention the tangibility of the Tagore thoughts. Because I have seen the ICOMOS documents. Well, that's another story again, another facts. But well, Tagore was very, very well planned. Maybe people has a question, but why didn't sustain? Why didn't continue? There are many things. I mean, right now it is not the time to discuss why didn't happen, but it is a time. What was the positive part? What was the good energy? What is the relevancy? That we should take it further. And also, Shantiniketan and Sriniketan is a space for self-sustainability. Tagore has created that. Today, we are seeing how migrant laborers are moving from one place to another place. That's it. We will never come back to Delhi. We will never come back to this place and that place. There's a whole struggle happening during this pandemic time. Can you imagine? Tagore has started Sriniketan and Shilpo Shodhan to train the local. And also there is a selling provision so they can sell their product, they can manufacture. So they don't have to go to the city to adapt their life to make their livelihood. It's an amazing idea, the Shilpo Shodhan. It is for the local people, local villagers. Also, Sriniketan has the social work department, the agriculture department. There's a whole approach to become a self-sustainable system. He also made the Vishwabharati cooperative. Imagine those days, Bolpur was a small town and Shantiniketan was a little village. But the idea was kind of a very, very strong and very, very sustainable idea. Even Shantiniketan, he made the Karushanko. Karushanko was started. Karushanko means to keep alive some traditional art. They used to take order. Even many journals those days, they used to have an ad of Vishwabharati Karushanko. We make this such and such thing, you must order, you can send your requirement to this post. It is all there, all the documents are there. And also, today we talk about community art practice, community project, public art, this and that. Imagine the Alpuna. What a large scale Alpuna and the what methodology. It's the whole idea of community art practice. The day first I arrived in Shantiniketan in 1988, it was a year ending. And our ex-professor Noni Gopal Ghosh was putting color in the white Alpona. It was a Bosch's year ending, so it was a sad time. So it was a white Alpona, white floral decoration, and next day was the New Year. So to invite New Year, they're putting color within the white Alpona, white Rangoli. So what a mind they have created the space, put the color in the same Alpona. And Nonida told me, Nandolal has started this thing. Of course, that was the time, it was not my age to understand all these issues and all, but still I remember. It's very interesting. Today we speak about, I'm talking in perspective of the fine arts because I'm into the art practice, especially, we talk about curatorial practice. When Surenkor used to make frescoes in Pathabon veranda, on each door before he starts, Tagore used to come, he used to give some notes to him. And that later on, that became a whole series of poem called Duar, Door. So all these issues, if you look at very minutely, is very interesting and one can really contextualize in the present days. And imagine those days in Shilpo Sadhan, they used to make all these practical uh, objects, and of course, it's all utility design. And Lokeshwar Singh, one of the finest students from Shilpo Sadhan Tagore, sent him to the Sloyd School in Sweden. And Johnson and Söderblom from Sloyd School, they came to Sriniketan and Shantiniketan to teach the students again. Sloyd School is a methodology where you can really formulate the traditional craft or utility item in a systematic order, which later on we called as a utility design or product design or something like that. And many of the Shantiniketan artists, they may not be good artists, but they had a good spirit. The whole team spirit of Shantiniketan and Kalahavan, they made the brand Vishwarthi. Of course, that time it was not just a Kalahavan, there was a Shangit Bhavan, there was a few departments, it was not that a huge university. But definitely, it was a huge spirit they have created. See, that was a space I believe one need to look at the whole idea of studio practice and also community art practice. I think Shantiniketan was that time, of course, they did. It was interesting beginning to have a dialogue between all these elements. And I must say that today we don't need the repetition of Shantiniketan making another Udayan or another Shamoli like that. No, nothing like it. But I think if we can take that spirit, if we can look back the past and connecting with the past and making the present and try to create the different aspects, I think that would be more important than anything else. So this book is all about just a small drop in the ocean because Art of Bengal and Bengal School movement is massive. But I try to compile the whole philosophy and idea of space, what Rabindranath thought, into this book. So once you read the book, you will have a basic idea. Okay, this is what happened. This is the documents because bringing out a book on Tagore, being a Bengali, it's not very easy job because he's almost everybody's property. Tagore and Shantiniketan is very difficult. So I need to be very cautious in that sense. But thank God that it's doing very well, and we were ready and they said it's a very good referential material. And of course, I kept a very elaborate bibliography to put the all important books and reference and primary literature and documents. So if someone needs further research, they can really do that actually. Because one of the finest historians, Shampushachi Bhattacharya, and one of the Tagore scholar, and he was one of the authentic Tagore's biographer, Prashant Kumar Paul, written Guru Jivoni, and they say it that well, you need to write things with the proper reference and documents, evidences, and also make things very simple. Don't make kind of a critical and difficult for others if they don't understand. Then I think it's your failure. So I tried my best to keep it very simple, even if non-artist, even if it is a non-architect, one can really enjoy it just reading it. And yeah, and I think another aspects, of course, this is a time one day to think. That's all about having a dialogue between self and me, because that is the only way one can realize, one can connect, and one can create a new energy. I think that's all I would say today, not too much. Thank you. Stay home, stay healthy, stay safe, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you, Niyogi Books and team and everyone. Thank you.